up until like 2022, I feel like I was still operating from like a place of desperation of really, really wanting to get into a relationship because it's like the be all end all, you know? But it's not. It's not the be all end all. Because I think for me, yeah, I knew that relationships kind of take work, but I just sort of always kind of figured, once I get into a relationship, it's going to be easy and smooth sailing. I mean, it's going to be like a fairy tale happily ever after, but it doesn't work like that. Hello everyone. Hi, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, hi, welcome. My name is Deborah and I'm so glad to have you here on the channel today. So yeah, I hope y'all are doing well and having a great week or weekend or whenever it is that you're watching this. Yeah, so it's, in today's sort of chat, I kind of wanted to sit and talk about, I guess, dating and relationships. I don't do a lot of dating and relationship chats in my videos, but I'm really feeling inspired this year to just talk a lot more about it because I think maybe the reason why I shy away from talking about things like this is just because I don't know, I'm trying to find a balance between talking and giving quote unquote advice, although I don't like to see it as giving advice, but merely as really sharing my own learnings and where I'm at in this whole journey of singlehood and actively dating and cultivating self-confidence, self-esteem, and all of that. So I think what I'm trying to say is I'm still trying to figure out where the balance is between sharing what I'm learning as I'm going through all of this versus really keeping my private life private. Is there a way for me to share examples and lessons without being overly specific? And I think that there is a way, which is why I guess now I'm becoming more open about talking about these things. But yeah, I think it's really important to share what I'm learning when it comes to dating and stuff, just because there are so many people that are in this single season, and sometimes it can feel what you're experiencing or what you're going through can feel so lonely and isolating. You might feel like you're the only one that is going through what it is you're going through. But when you stumble across a video like this, it just allows you to come to terms with the fact that you're not alone in your struggles, and there's so many people out there experiencing the same thing that you're experiencing. It just feels less bleak and hopeless. But so the inspiration for this video came from another podcast episode. So I was listening to a podcast episode last week. Ramit Sethi had a guest over on his podcast. I think his name's Matthew Hussey, and he is like a dating, love, relationship coach. And so Ramit had Matthew on as a guest in his podcast, and they were just kind of talking about dating, and the conversation sort of steered towards this discussion of leverage and having leverage in dating and how that can almost sort of position you advantageously when it comes to dating. And I resonated so much with that portion of the episode because it just makes so much sense to me, and I thought this would be such a cool thing to sort of talk about on my own platform and share my own spin on it and how I see it and why I think it is something useful and why I think that is a way we should approach dating as much as possible. So to begin, I just wanted to define what leverage is according to according to Wikipedia. So Wikipedia defines leverage as the ability to influence situations or people so that you can control what happens. And this kind of sounds, I don't want like nefarious or like bad, but really that is what leverage is just having a little bit of power, quote unquote, relative to another person, just so you can control the outcome. And I think when it comes to dating, yes, there are like I think one big outcome for most people in dating that are serious, kind of serious about dating and wanting to get into a serious long-term relationship is just that, is to be able to date in such a way that the outcome is a long-term relationship. And if you have leverage in dating, I feel like you are able to control the outcome, which is, I think, can manifest it as not just getting into a long-term relationship, but also really just being able to eliminate people pretty quickly that do not align with that goal. And I think that's so important when it comes to dating, because half the time, I know for my personal life, my history, my experience, there were like a couple years where I really desperately wanted to get into a relationship, and I would kind of almost date people that were not worthy of me. Not that they weren't worthy. I think everybody is worthy, but like, and I don't want to say that I could have done better than that, but I would essentially date people that were not aligned in terms of values, in terms of goals, in terms of interests. And it was just, I was doing this because I was operating from a place of desperation. And I really didn't have any leverage in dating at that point. And I feel like the older that I've gotten, the more time that I've spent clarifying what it is that I will accept and what I won't accept in dating, creating my own boundaries in dating, I feel like I've been able to get a little more of this leverage back. But the thing is, I think up until like pretty recently, and by pretty recently, I mean like 2022, end of 2022. Up until like 2022, I feel like I was still operating from like a place of desperation, of really, really wanting to get into a relationship because it's like the be all end all, you know? But it's not. It's not the be all end all. Because I think for me, yeah, I knew that relationships kind of take work, but I just sort of always kind of figured, you know, once I get into a relationship, it's going to be easy and smooth sailing. I mean, it's going to be like a fairy tale happily ever after, but it doesn't work like that. So again, this idea of leverage, I feel like is one that we should talk about and we should start doing in dating. So really, not having leverage in dating the number one way that it shows up is as desperation, like I mentioned. And you can be desperate to settle down for a number of reasons. You might be desperate to settle down because of your age. If you're a woman, this probably strikes as truer to you than for men, because of age, because of like, you feel like your biological clock is ticking, quote unquote. And so you need to find, especially if you want to have kids, so you feel like you need to find a partner with whom you can settle down, have children before you hit the point in your life where fertility issues pop up and conception and bringing a baby to term just has like a number of issues, right? So desperation is really one of the big ones. Again, it's due to age, could be due to like your age, biological clock. It could also really be due to an inability to stay alone, be alone, and enjoy one's own company. And I feel like that in and of itself is symptomatic of something else, is symptomatic of, you know, unhealed wounds and trauma that has not been properly explored. It's symptomatic of attachment issues. And so if you're operating from that point, you really act desperately to, you know, get someone to date you, get into a relationship. And that does show up quite a bit, right? Another way that not having leverage can kind of show up in dating is kind of feeling like you need another person to get you something that you want. So I think in last video, I talked about not traveling or not really experiencing a lot of things, just because I felt like I needed to have a boyfriend to do that. I needed like a partner with whom could go out and do stuff, and I didn't really want to do things alone. So it could show up that way too, feeling like in order for me to have fun, in order for me to experience new things, I need to have somebody to do all these things. And so in those instances, you really are giving up a lot of your power and handing it over to somebody else. And that's really essentially what it boils down to. The effect of a lack of leverage in dating is just this feeling of powerlessness. And like it or not, the other person that you're trying to date, if you're on a date with someone, they can feel this nervous, desperate energy. And you might be unfortunate that knowingly or unconsciously or unconsciously, that other person is really willing to exploit that. And then you become dragged into this sort of situationship where the other person does not want to commit to you because they have their own thing, whatever. But in a way, you're still getting your needs met, quote unquote. Maybe you have in that partner someone with whom you can go out and do stuff, right? But then it's not really a full manifestation of what you wanted the outcome to be, right? Because I feel like people that want to get into serious relationships don't want to end up in situationships, because situationships are so blurry and unclear in terms of boundaries, and you're just not sure that you're a team with this person, and that they're in it for the long haul, and that it's going to go anywhere, that it's going to yield anything beautiful, right? So that's kind of where the danger comes in. So now that we sort of recognize how a lack of leverage shows up in dating, how do we give ourselves that power back? How do we create that leverage? And the one way that you can give yourself that power back is by having contingencies, having a plan B, a plan C, or plan D, or whatever. And I think for me, this is something that I really, really, really love, especially like when you just start talking to someone new, you go on like a first date and they kind of tick all your superficial boxes. And so already there's like a sense of wanting things to work out because they look good, they have a good job, they want kids, they seem secure, whatever the case is. It just, you can just kind of get excited about that, and you already are putting out this energy of I would really like for this to work, for maybe good or not good reasons, whatever. But I think what's really important is recognizing that no matter what happens, they're not the only option. Oh man. And even just saying that just tickles me in such a nice way, because it really does give you your power back. Once you're able to say to yourself, and maybe not overtly say to the other person, hey, you're not the only option, and I'm not going to get hung up over you if you start to demonstrate that we're not aligning, you cannot meet my boundaries, you have attachment issues that you're not willing to work on, I'm going to drop you so quick and move on to the next one. And I think really truly believing that does give you your power back, because it is true. It may feel like sometimes you've run out of options because you've run out of people to swipe on your dating app. So that's not true. There are so many other people out there that you can go out and meet. And just recognizing that's like a plan. That's a plan B. That's a contingency. And it gives you this sort of strength, knowing that, whatever happens, I'm good. If this doesn't work out, I'm still good. If this doesn't work out, I'm still me. If this doesn't work out, I still have my self-worth. I still have my community, for instance. It gives you a level of comfort knowing that, yeah, whatever happens, I'll be fine. And I think that's key. And I think that's really one big way to get our power back. So, for instance, I was talking to this person on a dating app, and we had planned to go on a date during the weekend. In one of our conversations, and he made like sort of a, not like an explicitly sexual comment, but just like a comment that was sexual in nature, but like at the point that we were in our interaction, it was just left field. It was just not the time and place. And my response sort of indicated that, like, man, no, what are you doing? And he never responded back to me after that. And I did not follow up to see if we're still okay for our date. Because I knew that, first of all, if someone is already starting to dress, like, I'm all for flirting, I'm all for getting kind of sexy and whatever, but like, no, like at the right time, at the right point. You barely know me, I barely know you. What makes you think it's okay to say shit like that? And it wasn't really like even anything like out there, but I think I think I'm somewhat conservative when it comes to things like that. And so I just always prefer that people err on the side of caution and let things like that sort of flow organically rather than just kind of, yeah. But point is, I did not reach out to see if he was still interested in going on a date, because I knew at that point that I wasn't interested really in going on a date anymore. And my plan B was just swipe on more people, chat with more people, and potentially set up dates with more people. There are other options. So I didn't feel that desperate energy to overlook that a boundary had been crossed, with a comment like that, and just try to make things work, And there was such a sense of like power in that, right? And, it also could show up as getting out of a situationship, because, what? Because you realize and recognize that this is not serving me anymore, and I'm not going to stay in something that's not serving me. I'll move on and I'll be fine because there are other people that I can meet. And it may feel difficult because you're like, oh my God, where am I going? We had such intense chemistry. It was good. He was this, he was that. It made me feel this and that. And it's like, would I ever find something like that again? And I feel like those are valid concerns, but I feel like those concerns leave us acting small. They leave us acting in a way that doesn't serve us and allow us to stay in things that are not going anywhere rather than just moving on and assuring ourselves that we'd be okay. So you can also create leverage by thinking and knowing that the person that you're currently talking to, that your person actually doesn't have to be the person that you're on a date with right now, that you're talking to right now, or that whatever. Your person may be them, or they may still need to show up at a different point in your life. So it just kind of ties into that understanding that the person that you're on a date with, or the person that you're at the talking stage with, the person that you've been getting to know for a couple of weeks is not the be all and all. There will be others if it doesn't work out, and you'll be okay. And then again, another thing is just reaffirming that you don't want to be in something that doesn't feel right. You don't want to be with someone that doesn't treat you well. You don't want to be with someone that doesn't meet all your needs relationship-wise. You don't want to be with someone that does not know how to express their boundaries and will not respect yours. It's just absolutely better to be single and thriving than to be in a relationship where you're not getting your needs met. And I think the moment that you can reaffirm that to yourself and be accountable and stay true to that, and once you see it happening in a potential relationship, to sort of nip it in the bud and move on quicker rather than later, it is so empowering to be able to do that, I feel, because again, it just gives you that power back, because I was able to walk out of this, right? I'm strong. I can do this, right? I know what I want, and if someone is not willing to give me that, then I'm not going to stay in that thing, right? It cultivates a sense of self-respect, self-love, and you just feel all the more better for it. And being able to leave, situations like that just allows you to, just gives you the opportunity to try, to continue to try for something better, for someone better. Because like I said, there will be others, there are others out there, and it allows you, gives you that time, rather than pouring into a relationship, quote unquote, or whatever, that doesn't fulfill you. You're able to pour into yourself, pour into your community, pour into your friendships, your family, and your other like crucial relationships, right? All the while knowing that you're taking care of yourself, you're being accountable and true to yourself, and you're not settling for less. And I think that's really key in being able to just get our power back. But yeah, I've been talking for a while now, my throat hurts. But this was kind of an important one that I wanted to share, because I think it's really also a fresh lesson in my mind, in my life, and it resonates so deeply with me. Because like I said, I used to operate from a place of desperation, a place of feeling like, you know, time was running out and I needed to find someone, and like my life was not complete without someone. But that's not true. And the moment that I realized that, even though it was like kind of like a slow build and slow burn, so realizing that, I felt so much more empowered in my dating relationships. And that doesn't mean I haven't, you know, not made mistakes, but like done things that weren't, entertained situations that weren't really true to me. That's happened. I'm a human being. I don't think I'm ever going to operate perfectly. But the key difference between the Deborah that entertain that kind of nonsense and Deborah that doesn't want to entertain that kind of nonsense now is I can recognize when that's happening pretty quickly and walk out of it, thereby getting my leverage back. But yeah, I hope someone out there watching has found this useful as it has been for me. And I hope that you'll be able to just take some time and just really tap into that power that is within you, to just kind of take your own life in your hands, and recognizing that people come and go, but your person will stay. Okay? But that is pretty much everything that I have to share today. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed. If you did, don't forget to give me a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. It really does help me out. But that is it for now, and I'll see y'all next time in another video. Bye.